In a new study released by Gallup and the Knight Foundation, 2/3 of Americans surveyed said most news organizations blurred opinion and fact, 42% higher than in 1984. With this rapid increase in skepticism, many television organizations have felt the pressure of the title fake news resting on their credibility. We went to CBS Denver to talk about how this label has impacted their credibility as a media source.
They're looking for revenue or to sensationalize a news story.
It's less about news, it's more about how to attract viewers, because that's how news stations get money.
I have been much happier since about 4 or 5 years ago when I cut off my cable subscription.
Thursday 53, Friday all the way up to 65, it will be breezy, and then Saturday, Girls in Science Day, looks great, high temperature 60 degrees.
Traditional media, not the videos you see on Facebook about secret weight loss hacks or how to make money fast, has always had to compromise viewer prospect of the channel and how much of the process they share and how they find their news.
This just in, the news on the news?
That's right, Conrad. Many media corporations get a bad reputation from the term fake news, but today we take you inside CBS 4 to show you the ins and outs of the media, to show the credible process of how they produce their news, and display it to the public, from start to finish.
The phrase is gatekeeper. I'm a gatekeeper. And as a gatekeeper, I have to make sure that the right information gets through and the wrong information does not. The responsibility is to know where it came from in the first place. That's like number one in talking about an issue or talking about what's happened somewhere, is to have attribution as to where it came from and to ensure that that source is reliable. Just because somebody has a political opinion that they want reflected doesn't mean it should be included within the news, particularly if we're talking about the facts within a story.
So, nothing crazy overnight. We put Mackenzie on the living donor bill, talking about who will be testifying today.
What's my question? Will there be people millions for that?
Every morning at 9 sharp, project managers gather with coffee in hand to discuss the events of the day and projects they want to undertake. Planned to the minute, stories begin to take shape and place in the program, each event being assigned to different anchors, journalists, and photographers. The importance of the planning is undeniable, and this is where it begins.
At the end of February, beginning of March, they let Dave and I both know that we were matched. At that point, it was no turning back. They said that you're at 99% match.
From the morning meeting, Conrad and I decided to follow a story with the field reporter Jamie Leary. This story discussed the live organ donor bill and the people who have come to testify for the bill. Throughout the day, Leary and Conrad followed the idea of the story through its completion.
Dave, you had to fight for your life. You're fighting against not getting the new gas tanks and the helicopters. Now you're fighting for this. Is this your life going forward? Most people would think you deserved a break, but it doesn't sound like it.
All right. There's days that we feel like we need a break too. This is something that going through this whole process that we really wanted to be in this situation where we could try to give back in some small way.
Matt Martinez donated a kidney to Dave Rupture after the fatal Flight for Life crash of 2015. Now the two are testifying a bill to help give more recovery time to organ donors like Matt.
I'll hear like key sound bites and I'll say, that's perfect for an opening soundbite, you know. So I have an idea of how I want to start and end it when I'm listening to the subject. But then it really all comes together like a giant puzzle piece when you're listening to the sound back.
House Bill 1195 will be first. House Bill.
Jamie Leary, and job title is reporter.
What do you define as fake news?
Fake news. I think it's news driven by a bias. I think everybody has a bias. So it's just a matter of making sure that that doesn't carry through in your writing. And it can be really subtle too. You know, you can frame a story so that it slightly leans one way, maybe you didn't realize it, but that's kind of the way that it comes across. across in favor of one side or another. So I think bias a lot of times is how fake news starts to unravel and snowball. I left Bob at the Capitol because we were on a tight deadline, so I ran back here, then realized I forgot the disc with the interviews on it and had to run all the way back to the Capitol, but don't tell Bob that. This is the interview that we just gave. Remember Dave and Matt, and so I'm basically logging it. On this right-hand column are all the markers with some of the bytes that I think could fit into a package. I said it's like a big puzzle. I'm literally going to be inserting these in, and I have to boil it down to an understandable minute 15 seconds. Yeah. But that, to me, looks like it should be about a minute 20. I'm going to get yelled at if it's longer than that. There you go.
Oh, are you going to come back?
After the 5?
I'll text you with a total time.
Yeah, if you want to text me with the total run time.
I mean, you got a minute for the fight, so we'll have to cut something if it's another time.
Let me go look right now, and then I can come back and.
Yeah, I'll text you.
So I gotta go cut some stuff. The problem is we're a little tight on time, but luckily the live shot's only down the street. All right, if you want to come in here, you can move this out of the way so there's a little bit more room. And I'm going to track it now, so if Alan sends me back a correction, that's too bad. Love Alan, but we're on a deadline. It was a bit of a surprise when Matt Martinez announced he'd be giving a kidney to a man that he barely knew. Even more of a surprise for his recipient, Dave Repsher. The former flight nurse was nearly burned to death in a 2016 helicopter crash. Medication needed for his recovery to follow destroyed his kidneys. Dave was added to the list of Coloradans in need of a Last time. It was a bit of a surprise when the Living Donors Act would give. Shoot.
How many times does it usually take you to get this ready?
I'm gonna do this. It usually takes me like a good 10 minutes, but today is not gonna be one of those days. I really hope that there's not a time lapse that's 10 minutes long to follow. The former flight nurse was nearly burned to death in a 2016 helicopter crash. Medication needed for his recovery destroyed his kidneys.
Here we go.
That's it. File. Export. I've had way too much coffee. And that's it.
Thank you. For the transplant. Well, there's a lot of.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll meet you downstairs in 5 minutes.
We are going with Tom. All right, you want to meet me downstairs at 5?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nice shot this time of day.
And right now I'm told Dave, Matt, and other supporters of this bill are just minutes away. They've been waiting at the Capitol all day to give their testimony, and they're just minutes away from doing that. Coming up tonight at 10, our Alan Janae, who has been following this story closely, will give us a look at Dave's life, how it's going today, and Dave gives us an account never before heard about that day, that horrific crash. So make sure to tune in at 10 o'clock tonight. Live in Denver, Jamie Leary covering Colorado First. Woohoo, clear from 5. Now 6. Hey, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was a great filming today. You still have more work to do though, right?
Yeah, we're done with the 5. We've got a 6 o'clock live shot to do, but you know, that's not for another 45, so plenty of time. My work is pretty much done for the day.
All right.
Yeah, awesome. Woohoo.
The term fake news is thrown around a lot to try to discredit legitimate news stories.
How has the term impacted your profession and news station?
It's affected us a great deal, just because the public's perception of what we do and the accuracy of the news that we report has changed. And so that means we have to work that much harder to demonstrate to our viewers and to the public that what we do every day has value, is accurate, is fair. It may not be information you like or want to hear, but that it is accurate and fair. So we try now harder than we ever have to make sure the public understands why we decided to pursue a story, the efforts we've made to make sure that that story is fair, the efforts we've made to make sure that story is accurate. When we make a mistake, we're better than we've ever been individually and as a whole as a profession about correcting our mistakes publicly, making sure the public knows, hey, we recognized an error in a story we reported yesterday, and here's the truth, here's what happened, and we explained how the error was made. I see a room full of people who really care about this community when I look out at the newsroom. And that's the most important thing for me as the person who hires the people who come into this newsroom, is I want to hire people who care very much about journalistic integrity, who care about this community, who care about Colorado. And when you have that as your foundation, the journalism is going to be better.
We have a certain credibility here that we try to live up to. And we won't report things that we're hearing on the scanner, for instance, because oftentimes it's cop chatter and there's a certain vernacular that they're sharing between each other, and it's not often fact. So like there's just things like that that we do to try to cover our bases and make sure that we're portraying accurate information to the public.
I think there are a lot of misconceptions out there right now when it comes to journalism. Some people look at certain journalists, I feel like, and label them one way and not really look at the people who are doing their job and doing it well. And I think that's how there's that distinction.
How do you feel about televised media? I think it's important. A lot of people get their television news from TV.
It's a good way for people to express what they feel through video.
I mean, I think it's a good way to get news out because a lot of people do watch television more than read newspaper and things like that.
How do you feel about televised media?
It's televised.
Daddy's not keeping that shot up any longer.
Sabrina, that's hilarious. Oh, hello world. Didn't see you there. I'm Conrad Johnson.
And I'm Sabrina Darzens.
Finding you.
The real news. That's so
That
good.
took so long.
That was so cool.